Anchalila chapter 5, text number 120. Swarup Damodar continued, because you have committed an offense to Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will attain a hellish destination. You do not know how to describe the absolute truth, but nevertheless you tried to do it. Therefore you must be condemned. You can repeat. Swarup Damodar continued. Because you have committed an offense to Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will attain a hellish destination. You do not know how to describe the absolute truth, but nevertheless you tried to do so. Therefore you must be condemned. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Brahmana poet from Bengal was an offender in the estimation of Swarup Damodar Goswami. For although the poet had no knowledge of the absolute truth, he had nevertheless tried to describe it. The Bengali poet was an offender to both Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath because he had made it distinction between Lord Jagannath's body and soul, and because he had indicated that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was different from Lord Jagannath. He had committed offense to them both. A tattvagya refers to one who has no knowledge of the absolute truth or who worships his own body as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If an ahangropasika Mayavadi, ahangropasana Mayavadi, a person engaged in fruitive activities or a person interested only in sense gratification, describes the absolute truth, he immediately becomes an offender. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. So it's nice to see so many devotees here on Saturday morning. I was just listening to a class from Badrinarayan Prabhu, and it was from the Bhagavatam describing how everyone just wants happiness and they want to avoid distress, including devotees, but they just have different ideas about what is happiness and what is distress. But he made the point that the people, basically they work really hard 5 days just to have 2 days off. And, it just becomes a madness. So many people, Saturday morning just doesn't exist for them. They're just, right? The karma is that they sleep sometimes all day Saturday. They're so tired. I know even devotees that work, like in Japan or something, Saturday and Sunday they practically can't do anything except rest. They have to work so hard. So devotees are a little more fortunate. We can take advantage of every day. So this is an interesting section of the Bhagavatam, or the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This poet, at first all the devotees, they thought his poetry was very nice. So, and then when Swarup Damodar, who was the real tester, he would have to read everything or hear everything before he would let anybody present their poetry or their writing to Lord Chaitanya, to make sure that the Lord didn't get disturbed by somebody's improper presentation. So the other devotees were thinking, oh, he was saying something about Lord Jagannath, but this paragraph just, I don't remember the details, but he said that Jagannath, was different than the wooden body, and that Lord Chaitanya was different than Jagannath, so that Swarup Damodar picked up, what he was actually saying, and then he's chastising him very heavily here, that this offense you'll have to attain a very hellish condition. One should not try to speak about the Absolute Truth if he doesn't know anything. So they need to have a spiritual master and to have guidance, Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. One needs to also study Scripture so he can recognize who's a spiritual master, the one who's speaking according to Scripture and according to the sadhus. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jagannath is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no difference. It's offense to think that the deity is made out of wood or stone, or the guru is an ordinary person, or even any devotee is from a particular country or something. The body may be, but in the case of the devotee, but in the case of the deity, it's Krishna. So we have to understand that it's not idol worship. Not that, something like some people believe. I went to one New York City once. There was an exhibition at the Museum of Natural History or something. It was called Darshan, Seeing God, an introduction to Hindu devotional or something. It was a very big exhibition, and it evidently was going around the world, and there was a big book. So it had a lot of interesting things. But it had, they were trying to show that, and people were speaking how what darshan means, and, there was a lot of devotional feelings they had, that it means seeing, God sees you, and you see God, and all this. But every one of them stressed, they were interviewing like Indians who were doctors and businessmen, and, to show that it's respectable. But they all said that the deity is not God. They all made that point. It's just something that you have in order to access whatever God is behind that. Something like a television or something. You turn it on when you want to connect. That kind of, I don't know exactly, how long that's been going on. I know because when the Christians, especially, were dominating in India, they came up with these. People tried to still be Hindus, but have something that didn't sound so bad to the Christians, and it's kind of become all pervasive. The Vaishnava, the deity, is Krishna. And we have the deity in order to serve the deity, not so the deity can serve us, can please our senses so that we can meditate better or something. But we want to serve the deity. That's the difference. I know, like in Africa, some of the Indian people, they want us to have a Radha Krishna temple. And then we were telling them we don't have, sufficient brahmanas and facilities. And they can't understand it, because the Hindu temple, they put the deity and that's it. It just sits there all the time. And they change their clothes maybe once a year, and they offer some peanuts sometimes. And so it's very hard for them. But when they go, they see it looks nice. They have a nice altar, and it looks like nice, and they can pray. But for the Vaishnava, it's different. And the more one, of course, renders service to the deity and according to Scripture, then the more we can understand that. And so Lord Chaitanya, he's Krishna also. He's Jagannath, but he's acting like a devotee, so he's worshiping himself. But when Lord Chaitanya is worshiping himself, it's not like when the Mayavadi worships himself, or when the materialist worships his own body, which is quite common. Just down the road now on the way to the beach in our Juhu temple, there's a health club, and it's called the Body Temple. It's called the Krishna Health Spa or something. It's called the Body Temple. It's for women only, if you go there. But that's the Body Temple. There's many millions of those now. Everywhere they're worshiping their body, Ahangopasana. They're decorating their body in so many different ways, with jewelry and hair and cosmetic and clothes and so many ways, and surgery. Everywhere we see the signs for how you can get a new body. You can make it much better by, adding this and taking away that. But here we're learning from Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was the most intimate associate. He was the one person that was with Lord Chaitanya all the time. So he knew very perfectly. And when Lord Chaitanya would get in extremely emotional moods, Jai Vishwambara Prabhu Ki Jai. And of course, to the Mayavadi and to the ordinary person, these ecstatic emotional moods that Lord Chaitanya would get into were quite bewildering. Sometimes the academics, they say he was a saintly person who was epileptic, had some epilepsy disease, because they read about his, ecstatic falling on the ground and rolling and smashing his face on the wall and everything. They can't understand. And even Lord Chaitanya himself once, he told those Patana soldiers that he had some kind of epilepsy disease, because they were accusing his friends that they had poisoned him. He said, no, they're taking care of me because I have this disease and sometimes I fall unconscious. So for the mundane person, it's very hard to understand. Swarup Damodar would always know exactly, understand exactly the mood of the Lord, and then recite the exact Bhagavatam slokas that the Lord was actually absorbed in, and getting in this mood, and then that would calm him down. Then he would be able to be in ecstasy. He wouldn't get bewildered by the Lord's ecstatic mood. So he was always there, and Raghunath Goswami was always with him. So that's why Raghunath Goswami then, after the Lord left, he knew all the intimate pastimes of the Lord. And he was always there. So Lord Chaitanya is not different than the deity. That his disappearance, that generally is accepted in our line, is that he went in the Tota Gopinath temple and didn't come out. He merged into the body of the deity. And some say in Puri that he went in the Jagannath temple. Could have done both. He could do whatever he wants. So much to be learned here, that we have to be careful, because many times the common devotees, we can be bewildered when we hear someone speaking philosophy that's not quite right, if they're very clever talkers. That can happen anywhere, with translation. In Japan one time we had one woman joined, and she wanted to translate. And she had some degree, she knew Chinese and she knew English. And so she translated the slokas of the Light of the Bhagavad. And she made it into like classical poetry kind of Japanese, very beautiful. And everybody was, oh, this is so nice, oh, it's so good, wonderful, wonderful. And I showed it to one friend who was a professional translator. He said, who translated this? And then he said, she should read the English. So it had nothing to do with the English, but it was very beautiful Japanese. So everybody was thinking it's so nice. Whereas if someone else would have translated, but it wasn't like beautiful Japanese, but it was a perfect translation, they might say, oh, this is no good, if they don't know how to compare it. Now that's just in translating, and everywhere in the world we have all these for translating, problems. But what to speak of, philosophy. So we see so many, in the history of all religions, so many deviating things happen because somebody presents something that sounds very flowery and nice, but it's not exactly right. So Chaitanya Charitamrita and the writings of the Goswamis, they really make things clear. We were in Varshana at Jiva Goswami's place, and Dinabandhu was saying how they were in South India. Somebody was in South India, and these South Indian, Pandit Brahmins, they were studying Jiva Goswami. The devotee asked him, because they have so much in their own language and so many. He said, well, these Mayavadis, they're so clever that no matter what, they can twist it around. But Jiva Goswami, they can't. His writing is so precise and perfect that nobody can twist it around and make it sound like something different than what he actually said. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is like that. Lord Chaitanya's teaching. If we stick to the basics, that's... and the basics, some will criticize, Prabhupada just gave the basics. But the basics are not, it's not like basic in material world. The basic is also the most advanced. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Worshipping the deity. It's not that that's something you do like Mayavadis think just in the beginning, just to keep yourself busy, but then you become God and then you don't need to chant the name of God anymore. Or you become God, you don't have to worship the deity anymore. Or you become God, you don't need a guru anymore. Once in Mayapur, in the morning walk, there was a little hill going down, and the devotee held out his arm for Prabhupada. And then when they went to the bottom, Prabhupada pushed him away really hard. Just poof. And he was shocked, and Prabhupada said, that is Mayavadi. They take shelter of the guru and then they throw him out. They don't need him anymore. Now I'm God, see. So he gave the example like that. But the basics that every new devotee does, chanting Hare Krishna, that's also what the most advanced devotee does. They may do it much more, and they may do it much more attentively and much more deeply, understanding who is Krishna. But it's never that there's something higher than that. Even Bhagavad Gita, that it's Krishna. So it's not like we don't need it when we become advanced. We have Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is also, Prabhupada said, postgraduate study. So in normal education, you can't go to the postgraduate studies until you've done the graduate studies and the, what are they called, before graduate studies. And, you have to work your way up. But in transcendental, it's all the same, but anyone can do it. Chaitanya Charitamrita is meant for all of us to read. It's not that we have to, some devotees think you have to read the entire Bhagavatam first, and then you can go into postgraduate. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that cannot understand the Bhagavatam until you've read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that's why Prabhupada, made such an effort to translate and publish the Chaitanya Charitamrita. A very great effort was made. A miraculous effort that for 1.5 years or something, he just concentrated on the translation and then the purports, and then he pushed the devotees for that amazing marathon to publish the entire book in 2 months, which was, everybody knows that history? A little bit? Huh? Who doesn't know? Yeah. So the BBT had moved to Los Angeles, and they had organized very amazingly and had all the latest typesetting and computerized equipment, which was, people said that they were very, very, very cutting edge, very ahead of most publishing people. And so they came to tell Prabhupada, now we're going to catch up with your translation, and we can do one new book every 2 months. Because Prabhupada had been complaining that they weren't keeping up with him. So sometimes he stopped translating, and the devotees were begging him, and he said, why should I translate? You're not publishing and you're not distributing. Why should I translate? So they told him we can do one book every 2 months. And that was a big, they really had it down. Because it's a tremendous amount of work to get a book out. They had to get Prabhupada's tape, and then somebody had to type it, and then somebody had to go over it and go over it and go over it. Then they had to typeset it, and in those days it was, the computer thing was just getting started, and they still had to make film, and they had to cut everything and paste it together, and it's a tremendous amount of work. So the Prabhupada said, I want the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita in 2 months, 17 books. So they told him it's impossible. And then that's when he said, impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary, and he was really angry. And so they took it very seriously, and they went back and they started calculating so many things. And, he told them, you have no faith in the Guru. Guru tells you to do it, you can do it. And so they came back and they said they could do it. And they gave some conditions which Prabhupada agreed to, and they did it. And it's amazing. Dravida Prabhu a few years ago went over it, editing, and he said he was amazed at how few, mistakes there were for something that was done so rushing. The devotees practically never left their office, their desk. They were sleeping, eating, doing everything on their desks and just working like in a really amazing work. In the last volume they delivered to Prabhupada in Vrindavan, and he looked at it, and then he said, you said it would be 1 week ago, and why are you late? He was happy with it, but he still had to get on their case. And he wanted us to read it, so we're reading it, and everyone should read this again and again. The Leelas of Lord Chaitanya, like this chapter is called Pradyumna Mishra, but this particular part is not Pradyumna Mishra, this is this other Brahmin. And sometimes you'll find so many Leelas just in a very short space. It's an ocean. Krishnadas Kaviraj said that, it's a vast ocean. He's just trying to describe a few drops of this ocean of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, which are unlimited. And the more we absorb ourselves in them, the better it gets. And his activities, of course, first was kirtan, private kirtan all the time. Then he started the actual Sankirtan movement, publicly going out and chanting. And he continued that while he was in Navadvip, going out every day all over Navadvip, Udilo, Adana, Pura, Babaji, going to every town and village early in the morning and singing the Hare Krishna, benedicting the people, giving them the holy name. And when he was in Puri, Lord Chaitanya concentrated. Of course, he went to the temple every day and performed kirtan. And he sent the leading devotees out every day for Sankirtan, for chanting. Go in front of every home and chant, and ask everyone, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shiksha. Lord Nityananda and Haridas were partners, and all the devotees were going. And the only thing they asked was just chant. That's the donation we want. We want to hear you chant the holy name. Lord Nityananda would roll on the ground in front of people's houses and beg them, please chant. And even Lord Nityananda, and even in Jagannath Puri 500 years ago, was sometimes chased away. People didn't appreciate, the Vaishnavas. But he didn't. He was never discouraged. In Navadvip, many times, because Navadvip was very materialistic at the time. That's why Advaita was so upset, and he prayed for Lord Chaitanya to come. So there were many people who did not appreciate. They tried to harass Lord Chaitanya. They threatened to throw Srivasa's house into the Ganga, call the king and have him killed, and all kinds of things. It wasn't only Jagai and Madai. There were many. While they were having the kirtans in Srivasanga, they would stand outside and, criticize them and say these Vaishnavas, they don't work and they're hungry, and that's why they can't, at night they're howling all night because their stomachs hurt from not eating, because why don't they just get a job? And it's all inauspicious, and it's going to ruin the whole economy of the area, they said, because of these Vaishnavas. And that one envious Brahmin, put all kinds of dirty things at Srivasa's house. And others would say, I think it's nice, I'd like to go in there. And get out of here, they'd say, you're one of them. And even Jagai and Madai were so bad that they actually hit Lord Nityananda. But he gave, that's a mercy. Going and asking everyone, please chant. So our movement is just a continuation of Lord Chaitanya's Leelas. We're worshipping the deity, Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, cooking, offering bhoga to the deity, taking prasadam, same activities, and going out, and chanting. And that's the great mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, that we can do that for our own purification and for the people. The people are suffering so much. They're just working hard, and like we see in Soho, and it's really inconceivable that they work so hard just to stand out in the cold and drink beer, and smoke cigarettes. Sometimes they're still there at 4 o'clock in the morning. They have no place to go. They have nothing else to do. But they have to go back to work, and it's expensive to do all those things. So much money they have to have for their. They have that Ferris wheel, a big Ferris wheel there. Somebody said it costs 20 pounds. Just to go around and around, up and down, up and down. Samsara. That's samsara, the wheel of birth and death. You just go around and around. Sometimes you're up, so you get a nice view, or it doesn't move, and then you start thinking maybe we're stuck up here, we're never going to get down, and then it moves, and then finally they have to get out, and it's all over. Birth and death. So they need to get the mercy. Someone said that someone told him that they saw the Harinam on New Year's Eve, and he asked him how many devotees. The Karmi told him 500. Because so many people kind of joined in, especially New Year's. They like it. We were in Dublin. It's a setup there, but so many people go on top of this hill where there's a big church called Christ Church, and then at midnight they ring the bells, and then that's all, so the devotees go up there, and then Pragosh is shouting, okay, everybody, we want you to follow, come along with us, and they do. So when they're coming down the hill, there's like 1,000 people following the Harinam, and it looks just like they're all part of it. And many people hundreds actually did chant, at different times and dance. Hopefully they can remember because they're drunk. But next time they see devotees, they remember. So it's a special arrangement. This Lord Chaitanya, when he took the chanting out to the public, that was a special arrangement, special mercy to benedict everyone, to take the holy name everywhere. That's Lord Chaitanya's order. Devotees should be thinking all the time how to give the holy name, how to give books, how to give the holy name to everybody in every town and village, and how to bring people, to the temple, make more temples, make them accessible to everybody, and know the philosophy so we can teach people. But, the essence all is chant. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. Kaloa nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. Sometimes we may feel like we're not moving forward so much in our spiritual life. Sometimes we aren't, and sometimes we are, but we just can't perceive it. But if we really concentrate on the basic activities, chanting Hare Krishna, japa, and kirtan, and really concentrating on the holy name, and with faith, understanding, we want to go back to Godhead, and this is the way to go, by, joining the Sankirtan movement. Prabhupada promised all you have to do is follow the regulative principles, chant, regularly, 16 rounds, and serve the devotees and render service, to the guidance of the spiritual master. Those basic orders never change, and chanting Hare Krishna is, and going out chanting is not just for new bhaktas or just for the crazy guys, but it's for everybody. It's a purifying activity, and it's the outreach, getting everybody to hear the holy name, so that they can. Otherwise, how can these people, their lives are so pathetic. So more and more, there's suicide and so many insane things going on in the world, and they just report about the activities of such stupid people. The last couple of days, when we go out in Oxford Street, there's always all these headlines, in the newsstands. I don't even mention the names of these stupid women that they glorify all the time. And all they're doing is telling how crazy they are and how they're suffering. And people are absorbed. All the newspapers are giving out. And nothing about Krishna, except every once in a while we see a devotee giving out books. So that's special mercy to rescue people. They don't like what's going on. They're not happy with it, but they have no choice. That's all they talk about. All these mundane people, little imitation, Radhas and Krishna, all the different so-called wonderful couples that they have. So many magazines everywhere you look. One day they're talking about their dream wedding, and the next day it's their divorce, and the next day it's this and that. It's perverted. They want, to know about Krishna. They want to hear about Sita and Ram and Radha and Krishna. But we have to give it to them. The arrangements have all been made. They want to sing and dance, but if they don't chant Hare Krishna, then it's all useless. So, and if we chant this, it's basic, but it's the most advanced thing also. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here it's that there's other place where it's described. Jagannath is Daru Brahma and Lord Chaitanya is a moving Brahman. There's different manifestations, but there's no difference. Jagannath is not just the wood, like that. Who was that rascal, Biswaksena, is that with Bhaktivinoda? That mystic guy. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to him, and the guy was saying he's Vishnu and, bewildering people because he had a little mystic power, magical tricks, and the stupid people get bewildered. It's quite interesting that, people will think just because someone displays a little magic that they're God, because in the history of the scriptures, the magic powers were never done by the incarnations of Krishna. It's always the demons, right? Shalva and, Ravana, that Indrajit, they had all the magic, big magic. Not Ram didn't show magic. He did everything like normal. Hanuman didn't show any magic, but he defeated the magic guys. But nowadays people think someone does some magic, oh, they must be God. That's very stupid. So Lord Chaitanya, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The deity is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Bhaktivinoda went friendly, and he said, why don't you come with me to Puri and we'll worship Lord Jagannath? He was like, and the guy said, why should I worship a chunk of wood? I am God. And then Bhaktivinoda became very angry at that offense to Lord Jagannath, and he arrested him. And no one else dared to arrest him. They were afraid of him. Bhaktivinoda was fearless. He had to take Muslim soldiers with him because the Hindus were afraid to arrest Vishnu. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur managed to do that. So we're very fortunate to be in the association of Vaishnavas, in the line of Lord Chaitanya, in the guidance of Srila Prabhupada and his followers. And Srila Prabhupada was very kind to give us, all these books that give and then expand it with purports that explain, very carefully what all this means, so that we can be protected and not be bewildered by any fast-talking person that comes along. And we have to promote the truth. I remember once one deviant philosophy when it was first being propagated, and we read it, and we thought, well, nobody will ever go for this. This is so ridiculous. It's completely has nothing to do with anything Prabhupada ever said, although it's saying it. But then, all of a sudden, many people were bewildered by it. You have to be constantly, reminding ourselves and reminding everybody what is the real teaching. There'll be always, so many rascals trying to promote themselves as acharyas and as the real acharya, or even as incarnations. In India, Prabhupada said every village has incarnation. Even in Nigeria, there's many guys claiming to be God. One guy, I don't know what he does, some kind of, they say mystic stuff, and there's a signboard he has a ashram on the edge of one city. It says, "Welcome to the home of God." And he has followers. Another one, I saw his picture on the newspaper, and it said, he was in jail, and I asked, he said, yeah, he's claiming to be God also. And he had killed a bunch of his followers, saying that they were sinful. So they put him in jail, but still he had followers, believing he's God. People are, they want I thought of this later, but I was checking in at the airport in Delhi, and they wouldn't believe my status on my mileage thing because I didn't have the right card. I said, you can just look up the number. No. Then I thought later, if I would have told them I was God, they would have probably wouldn't argue with me. But if I tell them I have a gold card, no, we don't believe that. You have to get a letter from God. But if someone says they're God, they have no idea how to prove that. So they believe it. If someone just is very audacious and presents himself, I'm God, and does something to bewilder people, they might believe it. But other things, you have to have the ID card. You have to have what, they know the rules and regulations. So if someone is an incarnation, they'll be predicted in Scripture, and they will act in certain ways. And so we're protected by having Srimad Bhagavatam and having, real knowledge. And if we practice our sadhana, the basic things, it's never to be given up. It's not that there's something higher. It's just to do it better, to do it with deeper realizations and, more faith. The more we practice, the more that will develop. Then we're guaranteed to go back to Godhead in this life. Even though it's very, very rare, if we look around London even, it's very rare to find a Vaishnava but anyone can be one. Anyone can immediately just start chanting if they want to, but not everybody will take it. We're offering to everyone, freely. Chant Hare Krishna, read the Bhagavad Gita, but somehow or other they don't want to. But if we keep asking, we keep showing them blissful devotees, blissful festivals, and wonderful prasadam, then they will come. Preaching the glories of the holy name will increase our faith in the holy name. That is a science of preaching. So that's enough. Chaitanya Charitamrita, again, everyone should read it. It's easy to read, actually. And that way we can really connect with Lord Chaitanya and understand what our movement is supposed to be, with all the different relationships that Lord Chaitanya has with all his devotees. All loving, personal relationships. Everyone is loving each other and serving in ecstasy all the time. So it really gives us an understanding of, actually what this movement is and how we should be and how, we want to be and how valuable it is to be a devotee. Any comment or question?